Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformation. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Welcome, Transformation Radio listeners. We are here with Isabel Hundt. How are you, Isabel?
I am doing really well. Thank you so much for having me. What an honor.
I am super pumped to have you on here because, we're both speakers, so I know I'm going to learn so much from you today. So, if you're ready to dive in, let's dive in.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
So Isabel Hundt is the author of The Power of Faith-Driven Success and a certified vision and transformation coach, international speaker, world visionary, Empath-Warrior, and ambassador of global presence leadership. Over the past years, Isabel developed a successful business by traveling all over to share her enlightening message of tuning in to our true selves. Her passion is to support young adults that create, live, and transform their lives by understanding the scientific and spiritual connections between their heart and brain, and by discovering their unique magical gifts hidden within. She also teaches how to use our emotions and intuition as a powerful guide in business and life. Isabel has a big heart, especially for the empaths of the world of entrepreneurs. That sounds so amazing. That sounds awesome.
Thank you.
Talk to me about the Empath-Warrior. What exactly does that mean?
That's usually the first question I get to ask, or that people ask me in general. What are you talking about? It's becoming more and more of a term. Actually, I made up Empath-Warrior, but empath has always been a term for people whose mirror neurons are very, very established, more than normal. And we can take on energies. We can translate energies that are coming at us. We often feel what other people feel. And during my whole work as a coach, I have worked with people that would always call themselves, I'm an introvert. I don't know what I want to do. I'd rather sit on the couch, or I hide behind the couch. And over time, I taught them that they're an empath and how to protect themselves energetically and how their body works. And it usually changed a lot. And then the warrior came out. And it's okay, now I feel safe. Now I can really translate that message that's on my heart and get out there without getting totally frustrated and overwhelmed and depressed. And so I called them in another conversation with a friend. I was like, that sounds like an empath-warrior. And she's like, that sounds awesome. Make that your own. I was like, heck yeah, I'm going to do that. So I created the term empath-warrior for people who, empaths are usually considered as healers of some sort. We are teachers. We are healers. And it's just interesting to see both come together and embracing both instead of hiding and trying to survive.
Yeah, that's wow. Blows my mind. That sounds like everybody should be doing that or be involved in some sort of aspect of that.
Yes. Well, it goes back to intuition. And as you know, I talk a lot about intuition and how we can relearn tapping into our intuition to use it as a guide. Because as children, we are all highly intuitive. I mean, I have a 3-year-old, and I know you have young kids too. And congratulations, by the way. So I understand, just watching them so closely, I can see if we can just trust them more and see them as a full human being and not just as a child, they can teach us so much about intuition. But over time, we lose all that, coming with social expectations, parents, and we no longer trust ourselves. We are no longer in tune with ourselves. And so I think that's the part where everyone should be involved. Not everyone is an empath, but everyone is intuitive. And we forget that a lot. And I think the more we learn to reintegrate that into our lives and to trust ourselves more, the faster we can really do and live the calling that we're called to do and live the purpose.
Absolutely. Nailed it. So what about the Global Presence Leadership? Talk to me about that.
Oh, that's an organization, actually. Marlene Cover is the president. It's called Parenting 2.0. It's a nonprofit, and she asked me to be an ambassador because their whole message is about life skills and how to teach young people life skills in a different way. So I am allowed to use their platform a little bit for my work, but she in general does amazing work all over the world. She has people, ambassadors everywhere. I'm not kidding, everywhere. They just had a conference in India last year. I forgot where it's this year, but she's pretty awesome in teaching life skills. And she also endorsed my book, which was a huge honor because she's really successful with her work.
That's awesome. That kind of falls in line with what I do with my resilience training. It's basically life skills, like I teach like interpersonal problem solving and good listening and active constructive responding, mindfulness, goals, gratitude. I have a class called Check Your Playbook, and it's like that self-assessment, like when you handle something inefficiently or when you have an uncharacteristic lash out at somebody, like let's check your playbook and see, like that didn't really work so well, So like these life skills that I teach, man, that is amazing that there's different ways that people are applying, those life skills to teachings and stuff. That is amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to do what you do now? What's your why?
What's my why? My why is me being a world visionary. I've always had a different view of the world. Sometimes I told my parents I feel like I can see the world in a snow globe and I can see things change like a weather pattern. And sometimes I feel like I can leave my body. And I just see where we're heading today. We're losing so much of the interpersonal connection, even though we're so connected with each other. But most of the time, people just get so overwhelmed by everything that's flying at them, if it's from toxins in food, in the environment, other people, anger, like everything social media. We don't even watch TV anymore because of that. And so there's just so much that hits us at once. And I see that, and I see the pain people go through. And I know I had visions when I wrote the book where I saw young people linked together, arm in arm, almost like rolling over this earth like a wave and cleaning it up. They're so much more connected, or they want to be at their heart, but what they're being taught on the outside does not reflect that. So there's so much fighting going on inside of them that they don't even know what to listen to, if it's really what they feel or what they see and what they're being taught. And that's my why. I really believe that we can make a huge difference by just changing how we experience life and how we understand the responsibility that we have for each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell me who you were before you got to this point, like before you became a speaker and a coach and an author. Like, who was Isabel at the start of your journey?
Who I was, my journey started actually very young, because I had a couple of out-of-body experiences when I was like 4, 5, 6, and I always knew that something was a little different with me, that I had gifts. I never just experienced them as gifts or acknowledged them as gifts. I, for example, can see color around people, like the energy people send out. I personally translate them into colors, and each color has a specific frequency, so I can translate what the color means in their situation. And so it always has been like that. It's just been incredible, but I never knew how to utilize it or what to do with it, what it meant. I was always very shy, and if I would go to a high school reunion right now, I don't think anyone would recognize me. I was always in the back of the room. I never wanted to raise my hand in class. I never wanted to be in front of class. I considered myself not really that smart, even though I studied until my study time was literally going to bed at 8 o'clock at night and getting up at 2 in the morning and then study until school started. That was kind of like me. And I was always very introverted until I left the country for the first time at 16. I went to Barcelona, Spain, and then the next year I went to Hungary. And then at 18,
wow.
For those who don't know, I am originally from Germany, so that sounded a little weird, but yeah, I went to Spain and then Hungary, and from there it was almost like a click. I was like, oh my gosh, there's another world out there, and I just discovered me. And the extrovert came out. People were like, who are you? I don't recognize you. I don't know who you are. Like, I don't know. It's just like something totally changed. I feel like a huge purpose has been put on my heart, but it's exciting. And at 12 years, I had a dream that I would be moving to the United States. And the dream showed me on the stage speaking in front of a couple thousand people. And it always freaked me out. But that every time I went off the path, this dream showed up again. And so when I was 18, I came to the U.S. and I was still very insecure. And I didn't really trust myself as much as I probably should have or could have.
Right.
So the me before my work was rather shy and sometimes walking, I can't even describe it. Sometimes I did things that I can't remember now anymore how I did that. Like, I cannot remember stepping on the airplane and coming to the United States. I just did it, and I cannot really remember and recall the situation. So everything was a bit more of a blur back then.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. So how did you get to this point? Like, so being like a speaker and a coach and visionary, like, how did you get to this point? Was it like a program that you took?
For one, I'm a certified coach through the International Coach Federation, so yes. But actually, it started out a little different because when I came to the U.S. the first time, I had to go back to Germany because my visa ended, and then I studied economics, which was totally wrong, and I got really depressed for about a year. It was horrible, I'm telling you. I literally lost myself. Yeah. I couldn't even go anywhere, or I didn't care if a car would have hit me or not. And I was just very fortunate that my dad at that point did social work, and he was working a lot with people with depression. And so he saw that, and he came to stay with me for a while because we lived about 5 hours apart. And so he helped me through that. But my goal was then to become a counselor. And I thought, okay, maybe I can get a master's in counseling. Well, I got my degree later in social science, psychology, sociology, but I want to get my master's, and that's why I came to the U.S. And that fell through, and I almost got deported, actually. I ended up in Canada, and there that was a whole prayer journey because they wanted to send me home. They said they thought I would be doing things illegally until a really amazing guy came up, and he's like, I have a different feeling about you. Something is different. I'm going to take a look, and I'm going to see what I can do for you. And so after 3 hours of him trying to figure out what was going on, he let me come back into the country to figure things out with the university. Well, never got to that point. At that point, I met my now husband, too. And he said, well, I don't think counseling really is for you. It needs to be something more straightforward. And, of course, how everything usually turns out once you let go of the attachment and how you want things to show up or happen to you, it just shows up, right? It just shows up. So I met a friend of a friend who said, I think you would be great at coaching. Do you want to listen in or come to a weekend for the training? And I was like, oh, sure. I have nothing else to do. Why not? And so I did, and my husband came with me. He fully supported it, and he's like, if that's not what you're going to do, then I don't know what you want to do. That's totally you. That's what you should be doing. You're a natural in that. And so I trusted him, and I said, well, but it's another $15,000, and I don't have any money. And he's like, we're just going to trust that God will provide. Don't worry. We're still going to pay off my student loans and everything. And trust me, we didn't make more money at all. And we were middle class. income at that point, and we still paid off $115,000 in 2 years, and I still was able to do my training.
Wow.
And we do not know how.
Right.
It's just how things usually come up when you really follow your heart and how it shows up. And
absolutely.
then through that, coaching totally got me into turmoil. I mean, I had the worst identity crisis. I was just glad I was forced to work with a coach through the program, and he has been incredible. I mean, I worked with him for a long time, and now I still work with my coaches because it's just always important for me to keep myself up to date in that sense. And that had me realize the gifts that I have and how I can utilize them and how I respond to people. And it really opened up my heart to the message that's on my heart. And so that's how I pretty much came to where I'm at today.
Wow, that is like an incredible, I mean, you're almost deported, and then you wind up in Canada, and you're meeting all these people, like looking back at you, like, man, like, I'm just stunned. I'm blown away. It is so amazing. Because I firmly believe that everything happens for a reason, and I firmly believe that everything that we're going through is preparing us for where we're going to. And so, you know, God puts people in our path for a reason, for a season, for a short time, a long time, whatever the case may be. Like, everything that happens and everybody that we meet is there for an exact reason or purpose.
Yeah,
and so,
I agree.
You know, when you look back at your transformation, whether it be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is, when you look back at your transformation, you're just like, man, I don't know how when I'm in the moment, it's like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. Like, how, like, oh my gosh. And then you're on the other side of it, and you're like, how did I not get through it? Like, that's super easy. Like, oh my gosh. But we're like growing the entire time. It doesn't feel like it, and it hurts sometimes, but we're totally growing through this entire experience. So
it's not always fun, but
no,
you do it anyway.
No.
Sometimes, trust me, sometimes I sit here and I was like, okay, God, why can't I just be mother and wife and be okay with that? Why do you need to put always that yearning, that desire on my heart? I don't want to do this work anymore. It's exhausting. I love people, but it's just so much pressure to see how everything works as a world visionary, and then just God always reminds me, you're doing great. Just stay with it, stick with it, and that's where I talk about faith. It's just that it's not necessarily a religious kind of faith, but it's more about the knowing, the deep down knowing on your heart, the understanding that whatever that desire is already prepared for you. It's already there. The only thing you do not know is the timing.
Absolutely. Yes, and yes. Absolutely. So looking back, right, we were just talking about, you know, everything, and we're reflecting. So looking back, can you pinpoint, like, what exactly was your transformation?
I'm not sure. I think the biggest transformation that I've gone through was through the coaching. I mean, I've gone through an ontological coaching training. So it's about where we talk a lot about the inner world essence and survival mechanism. Those are like the words that we use. And so it was very intense training with a lot of breakdowns. But I so appreciate it because I had to go through the same or similar, obviously, towards my journey, but a process of breaking down and rising up again, like every one of my clients. And that was the transformation. I wouldn't want to miss that at all. I don't think if I wouldn't have gone through the training, I don't think I would have the understanding about who I am as much as I do now.
Oh, amazing. Because, I mean, self-assessment is like probably one of the hardest things that you have to do, but at the same time, it's so important, you know, that you really assess, like, who I am, where I am, and where I want to go.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So what was the best part about your transformation?
The first thing that just came to mind was I don't care anymore what other people think about me.
Unless, of course, they want to give you some money to pay your bills, right? I totally care what you think about it. If you, if you want to pay my bills, you can have opinion all day.
I mean it more like in a comparison way, in a negative way. I have become so much more bold by knowing who I am, what I can offer, and what I'm called to do. It's more like a mission that I'm on. I can be bold. Like, I sent my book to Justin Bieber, not because I like his music, but I love his spiritual transformation, and I love the people that he's reaching, because those are the people that we need now to really create change in our world altogether. And I haven't heard back from him, but hey, you never know. He gets a million fan mail,
never know.
even though I wrote business on it, but you never know. And other things. I reached out to John Lee Dumas and other people, and they even did get back to me. And I was like, hey, why not? I don't have the time to sit around and go through all those strategies people tell you and how to reach out to people. I'm a mother. I don't have time to go and sit. I'm just bold and blunt, and I just ask for what I need.
Yeah, and absolutely. Why not?
I would have never done that before.
Oh, awesome. Okay, well, there's always two sides, right? So what was the worst part about your transformation?
I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of friends. Yeah, I lost a lot of friends that we hung out with before. And even from back then, it just was a huge transformation where people were like, I'm not quite sure who you are anymore. And just the way we think, some people would say we have the new age thinking. My husband is a naturopath. So we learn from each other. And we have a very natural way of living. We understand the power of energy work. And yes, we do yoga. And I am a Reiki master as well. And it's just the way you use it. So some people are like, oh, no, that's not what we know. No. So, yeah, the transformation, the understanding of what's going on inside of us can definitely make you lose some friends.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes, we got to shed some of the old and embrace the new. And, whether they're supporting us or not, I mean, like I said, everything happens for a reason, for a season. And, I talk about building out your personal board of directors. That's kind of one of my signature talks, is building out your board of directors. And so you place these, however many people, but you place them into these 5 areas, like your wealth or your finances. You place people into your personal life, your professional life, but they're people that elevate you. And sometimes you fire them from your board of directors, like you're not on my level, or you're not, elevating me or propelling me, or you're not, like, you just have outgrown that part of the board of directors. So I'm sorry, you're not. I have to add somebody else or take away, or what I mean. And sometimes it happens that way. I've met so many people in my military travels overseas and whatever. I don't forget them. But, I just don't keep in contact with them maybe as much. But they're always a part of my life. You know what I mean? So sometimes we just have to, we're on a journey. And if my journey is not in line with your journey and we're going separate ways, then, so be it. But I feel like you have to stick to your journey, to your purpose that is designed for your life, whether or not somebody comes along with you or not.
And that's the hard part, I think, about transformation, where a lot of people pull back.
Yes.
What if I change? What will change in my life? And that's a scary part, because, when I first started seeing friends pulling away from us, I was hurt. I was in pain. I was like, what is wrong with me? Why do they not want to be with me? And you start all those negative asking and those negative questions, and you asking yourself, like, instead of just acknowledging it, that there's something new ahead of you that might even be better. Maybe it may not feel better for a while before it really gets better, but it's something that you have to go through to understand the direction of your journey. I mean, as you know, I talk a lot about emotions. One of my talk is about demystifying the world of emotions. We often think we can't feel certain ways. Fear is bad. Being angry is bad. Being upset and sad is not what you want to do. So there are so many things. And I think often, especially with children, we see that when they feel bad, we try to make them feel better, which is in general not a bad thing, but we also need to let them experience all that to help them understand this is your journey. I can't take this part of your journey away from you because it's something that you need for your future. And I've done that, especially moms do that because we have a special connection with the child that we carried for 9 months, and we can't see them suffer. So we take it actually away from them. That's why often children cry for their moms first before they cry for their dads. And my husband always says, you can't do it. He needs to go on his journey. He needs to experience it himself.
Yeah, my two-year-old daughter always comes to me for like juice or like a diaper change. You know? But, like, if she's her, I think she screams for her mom first, I think. I don't know. Yeah. As I think back, I'm like, man, feed me and clothe me and, you know, do stuff for me. Come on, Dad. But, like, her and, like, emotion stuff, like, yeah, I think she looks for her mom. Yeah,
which is normal. Yeah. We call that the umbilical cord is physical, but that cord actually never really leaves us. It's, for example, when someone has an amputation, if it's a hand or a foot or a leg, they still, we've done some testing, or not we, but scientists did testing to see if the energy itself of that, of that hand, for example, if that's still there, you can still see the energy of the hand, even though the physical hand is not there anymore. And it's the same with the umbilical cord. Even though the umbilical cord physically is not there, the energetic connection is still there. That's why a lot of the time, children imprint and copy the behavior of the mother more than of the dad.
Oh, wow.
If you, for example, have a mother who is depressed all the time, the child tries to find a way to connect with the mother on the same level that the mother understands, which in that case, it can happen that the children are more prone to getting depressed as well, because it's a way for them to connect with the mother who is their source in that sense, especially until like a certain age.
Huh. My 2-year-old must not be on that wavelength because she is just like me. She acts like me. Like she just, like everything about her is, you know, like she just, everything that she does, like all the goofy stuff she does. My mom's like, you used to do that when you were a kid. You know, like, I don't know. Yeah. She is just so like me.
Though. That is more genetic, that kind of behavior. The other connection is more energetic. So if your wife is really available to her emotionally, then she will imprint that. Like she will copy that from her mostly. But the genetic side, she probably, my son he looks more like me, but he acts more like my husband.
Oh, I gotcha. Perfect. Wow. Yeah. I'm learning so much right now. That's amazing. Explains a lot. Definitely explains a lot. So that's amazing. So Life Transformation listeners, if you have a question for Isabel, this is a live show. So our call-in number is 657-383-1109. Again, that number is 657-383-1109. So we're going to shift gears a little bit. And I know for me, this is like a huge part of my life, especially since 2014. But you mentioned God a little bit. So how do you feel God played a role in your life up to this point?
it depends on how we distinguish God, or how we describe God.
Okay.
I think my way of how I acknowledge God changed. I grew up Lutheran, and so everything is very strict. I think Lutheran and German could be very comparable to Catholic here.
I was raised Catholic.
So you understand. I think in those realms, I would be called a witch right now, because, well, you can't talk about energy. That's all not something that you talk about in Christianity. So I stepped a little away from that. We're now part of a non-denominational church, and we love them. They're awesome because they're more open to this way of thinking and the understanding that science doesn't need to be anything in controversy to faith or well, religion in that case. I don't even like to talk about religion because, again, God for me is everything. God is within me. God is nature. God is the air I breathe. God is the power that's inside of me. When Jesus said in John, is it 12 or 14 or 14 verse 12, where he says, I am doing great things, but you will do greater things because I will be with the Father. And that understanding that we will do greater things than that perfect, what would you call it, human being? Jesus, without a fault. And he tells us, you have such a power through the Holy Spirit inside of you, God inside of you, that you have power to heal, that you have power to teach, that you have the power. And Paul says that we all have a purpose. Some of us will be healers. Some of us will be teachers. Some of us will be apostles. And I think often we forget that God is in everything. God is not just the man in the sky who watches us and tells us, this was wrong what you just did, or now I'm really disappointed, because that's how I grew up. I was always told, if you don't do that, God will be disappointed about you. Do listen to your parents, or God will be disappointed. And that, I think, left a scar, because I always thought I could never do it right. I never could be good enough for God to accept me as a human child, or as a child of him. And through this whole transformation, the journey, and understanding how we're really connected with everything around us, how we are able, according to Matthew 17, verse 20, where we are able to move mountains just by the little faith that we can have. And now imagine what we could move if we have a big faith, if we really understand that my thoughts translate into a vibration, a frequency that impacts everyone around me. For example, we know now through scientific experiments that the most effect that we have with our people reaches out to 25 feet around us in circles. So whatever we think, that energy is traveling out into the world and impacts people around us. You know, when you have a group of people in a room and someone comes in who's really grumpy and just, and you suddenly feel the energy shift in the room, that's exactly the science part behind it. And so having that understanding, it helped me to see more of who God really is, the beauty in who he made us to be, and really just understanding that responsibility that comes with it, that it's not just a burden, but that we can really co-create with God instead of being like excessively dependent, like where I'm like, okay, I'm just this little human being, and then there's God, and I'm just going to let it all be done. And God is like, no, I want to co-create with you. I want to be part of your life and not just pull you. I'm with you, and I do work for you and not against you. So trust me. And that is the switch that I had through this whole transformation. And again, I'm not shoveling down religion on anyone's throat. Right. But for me, it's just more of an open mind. And okay, some people would say, oh, that's New Age. I'm like, well, if that's what you call it, I'm pretty happy with it. It feels good. It feels so exhilarating, and I can feel God inside of me. And that doesn't mean that I don't have my doubts and that I don't have my days where I just want to stay in bed and that I don't have troubles and all that stuff. but I know how to get back to it now. I know what I have to do, and understanding what's really going on inside of me. What is the world trying to tell me? What is my own body trying to tell me? That's what I do with my emotions work that I do with clients. And it's just fascinating. And understanding God in that way, oh my gosh, I mean, that really doesn't leave any limits.
Absolutely. And I love where you say that, like, everything is connected, like, because we are, if that's what you believe, as in, because I'm the same way. Like, I don't get into too many religious talks. I could quote scripture and I can, but like it just all comes down to what you believe, So we go to a non-denominational church because I absolutely love that. Like, our church says you can belong before you believe. It's the Bridge Church in Princeton, North Carolina. And our pastor, Pastor Farrell, talks about belonging to the church before you actually believe. Like God will bring you in, right? Mm-hmm. Even before you believe, he will bring you in. He will show you, like if you ask him, show you. And just a couple scriptures come to mind, like 1 John 4:4 says that he is greater in you than he who is in the world. We can do so much more when God is inside of us, rather than him just being out in the world and he's doing his thing and whatever. Like you said, he can move mountains. One of the other ones that I just think about is Hebrews 11:1. It says, faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you do not, what you do not see. I'm choked up over here about it. So, I always tell people, it says, faith is not the absence of doubt. You're always going to doubt. Right? I mean, Jesus hung out with doubters. He hung out with doubters. But faith is not the absence of doubt. Faith is the overcoming of that doubt. Having faith in something, whether it be religious or not religious, I can have faith that people that I work for are going to treat me right. That has nothing to do with religious, everything to do with faith. Faith can be religious and not religious. And having faith in science that, even to the most basic level, like, in science is this, hypothesis, and then your theory, and then your, like having faith in the theory and having faith in that hypothesis and having faith in that science is going to prove or disprove, whatever, because it goes beyond, because science is fact, or at least it's the closest to it, because once it's proven scientifically, I mean, you really can't argue too much. But then there's that other realm of, miracles do happen, and how does it happen? And it's just because the universe works that way. Some people are so anti-religion, and I think they're anti-religion because they've been burned by religion. Because God says that nothing bad was going to happen to me, and something bad happened, and so screw you. At least that's what happened to me. And a lot of people that I talk to, that's what happened to them. When I went through my suicidal ideations and, like, I was so ready to kill myself, it was like, screw you, God. Like, you did this to me. You're the guy with the ant magnifying glass burning the ants, and you're the bully kid, But that's not the case, though. And I look back at my own transformation. I'm like, dude, he was working in me the entire time. The entire time I was cursing him, he was working in me. And now I have a powerful testimony to tell, because of my journey, because of my transformation, So I loved absolutely. We are all connected in some way. And when you can tell the person who walks in a room who is just hating life, as opposed to the person who is so full of energy, who is commanding that energy of the room. And then you can also know the person who just walks in and just sucks all the energy out of the room. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and the same actually happens with nature. My husband, we have like a whole huge garden in the backyard, and we teach my son, if he picks something, he has to ask the plant for permission. And if it's some kind of vegetables that he picks, he has to say thank you. And what we have realized is that it produces more. It's the energy that you're sending out. You're blessing something, and it will provide more. And that has been an incredible experience. And I think once you understand that, you also are more willing to take care of the environment. You can't sit by and see all the wood's being cut down because it hurts you. You need it. Like for us empaths, nature is for us balance. If nature gets destroyed, we are getting destroyed because we need that.
Right.
I don't know if you knew that. The earth itself is negative polarity. And when we understand that God is inside of us, the inside, the essence of us is always positive polarity. But everything we put on the outside, the layers of doubt and fear, and again, fear is actually nothing bad, that is negative polarity. So if we go outside and we talk about grounding in my work, when we go outside and just be in nature, the negative polarity of the earth plus the negative polarity on the outside of you turns into positive. And so you're more balanced within your body again. So if nature's out of balance, we will be. And when we're out of balance, we get sick and we die. And that's pretty much how things are connected. And that's why people that I work with and understand suddenly that connection, like, I can't just sit by anymore. I have to do something. I'm like, I know. That's exactly why I wish sometimes I wouldn't do the work I do.
That's amazing. That makes so much sense. In my resilience work, we talk about getting out in nature, and there's something about with the PTSD, and we talk about post-traumatic growth rather than being hindered by the post-traumatic stress disorder that a lot of the military gets diagnosed with. As a resilience trainer, I talk about post-traumatic growth, and one of the growth mechanisms is getting out in nature, taking a nature walk. Taking your kids or your dog, and that's why they have a lot of service animals, because even dogs and cats is part of nature. And getting out and experiencing. They say that just going on a 5-minute walk in the woods or walking into a field barefoot or your front yard, grass, whatever, just barefoot, like you become one with the earth, and there's some kind of a healing power that happens when that. I mean,
now you know why.
I was blown away. Yeah, I never knew why. Blown away when I was learning all that stuff. So we talk about that in our resilience, about developing an attitude of gratitude, and that's part of what we talk about is get out in nature. Go dig your toes in the sand, which I absolutely hate sand. Oh my God, I hate sand. But we talk about getting out in sand, getting out. It gets everywhere. And getting out in nature and grass and trees. It might not like tree-hugging hippies, but you know what I'm talking about.
Hey, even that is part of grounding. Trees have a very powerful energy around them, and they can actually communicate with people. I have clients, she can literally, like, trees are her thing. She can communicate them. She sometimes sees pictures in them. Like she said, sometimes they just show up like a dancer, and sometimes just other things, and they just show up. It's how their energy is being translated in her mind. And I need trees. I mean, for me, that's for the energy source for me, literally. And my son, too, he's also highly sensitive and empathic. So if he gets really stressed out, he needs to go out in nature. We all three know we need to go out and just be outside for a while for him to be balanced again more, and myself too. So now you know the science, the physics behind it too. Why?
Yeah, and it's the science behind why we feel the way we feel, and like you said, positive and negative polarity. Like I never even knew it. I mean, it makes so much sense. Like that's wow. I love it. I'm digging it. I'm taking so many notes.
I think we could have a conversation for the next 5 hours probably, because there's so much more. I mean, the same you can say about each emotion. Each emotion has a certain frequency, vibrates on a certain level, that each of your organs in your body vibrate on a certain level. That's why a lot of emotions are connected to different organs in our body. Anger is stored in the liver. Worry about future and family is stored in the kidneys. So a lot of times I can just scan people and tell them, hey, I see there's some pain right here. Like, I have trained myself now so much that I can do it over distance, where I just ask the Holy Spirit to guide me, and then I can see where they have trapped emotions. I'm always talking about where emotions have been trapped, like anger or worry. And often I know exactly, like, do you have a lot of digestive problems? Oh, yeah, I totally do. And like, okay, it's because of that. And let's see how it goes back to where. What time did it get trapped? what exact emotion is it? And we can determine that through a whole process that I go through. And often when we were able to clear it, people are like, I feel great. I don't have the pain anymore. And that's all on the frequency, the vibration that I just talked about with the polarities and the frequency. It's just a very, very fascinating topic to me.
That's awesome. Absolutely. I am completely fascinated. So in regards to everything we've been talking about, who has been your biggest influencer?
I think my husband.
Okay.
I think it's really been my husband. I don't know what I would do without him. We're just an amazing team. When he's always pushed me, he supported me. Like, I hate driving in Chicago, and when I went through the coaching training, he always came with me, even though he had other stuff to do. But he came with me, and he stayed at the hotel for the whole day, or weekend, depending on how long I was there. But he then also found his fascination with all natural. Like, he is a master herbalist, so we have tons of herbs and tinctures at home. And so he reads books, and he's like, you need to read that. Right now I'm working on Bach flower therapy, how emotions respond to certain flowers, how that can help work through certain emotions. It's so incredibly fascinating. And so he always pushes that on me. He's like, you need to do that. That would be great for your work. So he really is my biggest influencer and my biggest support.
I was just going to ask you, so if he's your influencer, who's your supporter?
Yeah, he certainly is. Like,
awesome.
There are not many things he wouldn't say, oh, no, I don't think you should do that. He's the one, why don't you apply for that? Why don't you just call them? Like, he is the one who's like, we're going to figure it out. Just do it. Like, he's the one who's probably even more trusting than I am.
So he's cheering you on. He's just, he's your cheerleader. Yeah, he's definitely in the front row of your life cheering you on. Definitely. Yes. My friend John Vroman talks about living life in the front row, and he just wrote a book about living life in the front row and about being moment makers. And it sounds like that's exactly what he's doing. Is he's creating moments in your life, and he's cheering you on from the front row of your life. That's awesome. That's beautiful. So where are you headed now? You got any new adventures, businesses, family? Like what are you doing these days?
Well, right now I have been working on a lot of different things. I just finished up some really amazing meditations. Those are meditations almost like coaching meditations, where I turn tools into meditations for people to feel more guided on their own, as well as prayer meditations, which I think will be great. We're going to have it up probably the beginning of August on my website. And I also have been working on new speaking topics, so I'm getting even more out now. Obviously, I was home with my son a lot, so the speaking got a little bit in the background. So I want to get this more out there, and I'm working on the mindset of I can actually have it all. Even with a child, or even if we decide to have another one, it's going to be okay. I can still do my work. And and I've been working on new programs like the Clearing Trapped Emotions. I'm offering now different packages for that because I've seen amazing results with people, and it's all distance. So that makes it easier on me. I recently created the Empath-Warrior coaching program, which is also really powerful, and how people just start to experience life and how they're standing up. It's almost like a huge awakening. It's just beautiful. And so there are a couple different things. I just created a new download too for people, a freebie that's not up on my website yet, but people can get it through my Facebook group called World Visionaries United. It's a free download right now about 5 simple ways to protect yourself from negativity, which I think is really helpful to most people.
Oh my gosh, everybody needs that.
It's really good. That. I mean, I wrote things down from simple prayers to affirmations, but also to specific exercises people can do every day. And so, I don't know, just right now, March seems to be my month of creative thinking. I'm not quite sure why, but it's amazing. Every week I'm like, oh yeah, I need to work on that. Oh yeah, I have this idea. That's awesome. Awesome. We'll see where it's all going to head, but I have a really good feeling about this whole year, and It's going to be
Sounds
good.
like this is going to be your breakout year. I mean, I'm telling you, this is going to be your breakout year. I can feel it.
Yeah, yes, definitely. I mean, I would consider myself already quite successful at what I do, but yeah, it's just going to be, I think the time couldn't have been better with where we're at socially, in the world as well in the U.S. So it's just, my work just has begun, literally. And, as you can tell, I'm I'm very passionate about what I do.
Passionate, yeah. So was there a resource that you found during your journey that with no one's help, like you just stumbled on it? Like was there a resource that you found that helped you?
Not that I can recall, to be honest. It was usually people who pointed me in a specific way.
Okay.
So even
what was
when
the
I
best
wrote
resource
my book, go ahead.
So what was the best resource that you found during your journey then? Or who gave you so who gave you the best resource that you used during your journey and coaching and all that, and what was the resource?
I think, looking back, for one, it was the work with my own coach, but also I worked with another coach, and her name is Jennifer Horacio. Love her, love her, love her. And she really got me into the divine work, working with the divine instead of against it. And she offers a program called Soul Language. And so she determined my soul languages, which were just amazing. And just operating within that, it helped me with my marketing. It helped me with the people that I attracted. It helped me with clarity in just so many ways. And just so I see, okay, this is how I can connect with my soul, how I can really hear God speak to me again in a clear way instead of just the jabbering of my mind. And so I think that over the last few years has been the most amazing resource for me, besides, again, working with my own coach. But yeah, she has been amazing.
That's awesome. So here's your chance. Shameless plug. You can plug whatever you want, a friend, a quote, your websites, Facebook, the coaches, your coaching. Shameless plug. This is your moment. Go.
Okay. Well, I already did some of it, but I really am. I'm not going to hold back. I'm looking for 2 new clients starting either April or May. I only work with a handful, and I haven't done much promotion for that. Usually it just comes naturally. People come to me and like, hey, yeah, I'm interested. But hey, if someone is listening and really interested in hearing more, I would love to talk to you. There's not going to be any sales pitch. If it's a fit, it's a fit. If not, it's not. That's how I work. And all the information are actually on my website, isabelhundt.com, ISABELHUNDT. .com, so you can find everything there. And I would love, love, love to hear from some people.
Awesome. So looking back, is there anything that you would change or do differently?
I think I would trust myself more.
Okay.
I think that's the thing. If I would have listened more honestly to myself, and we talk about gut feeling, I think a lot of people can relate to that. I could have avoided a lot of the pain that I've gone through. If it was past relationships, people that I worked for, if I really would have listened, I could have had it a little easier than what I had it.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I think we all look back and we're like, man, that kind of messed that up, or I hurt that person, or I think there's sometimes maybe 1 or 2 things, but I think the whole entire journey, or I wouldn't have went through that, like, 'cause that sucked and that hurt. And I think people, when they look back, when they really look back, I think they appreciate everything that they've gone through, because deep down, like, they know that it was for a purpose, and it has grown them into who they are and groomed them to really find somebody that is going through the same thing that they went through, and like, dude, check it out. I've been there, done that. Here's how I'm going to help you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's true. But it's also, sometimes I knew in the moment the answer, and I still didn't do it because I didn't trust myself that what I heard and felt was right. And that's why in one of my signature talks, I talk about there's nothing wrong with you. And it talks about obviously the emotions that come up for us, or what we often identify as that's where I'm wrong, that's where I'm not enough or good enough. And looking back, I knew in so many situations, I knew it in that situation that it wasn't right, and I still did it. And I think if I would have known back then that what I really attract into my life, and that I do create my own reality, everything, it would have been, not the situation itself would have maybe been easier, but the way I would have approached it, the way I would have been about the situation.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, Transformation Radio listeners, we're coming up on the end of the episode. If you'd like to call in and talk to Isabel, the number is 657-383-1109. Again, 657-383-1109. So as we wrap up, deliver your best nugget of knowledge that will motivate, transcend, and inspire someone.
Okay, that's a good one. I always have so many that I can't think of just one. But here's one that just came right away to me, and maybe someone just needs to hear that. You do not need a tragic or some kind of eventful event to have a story that needs to be told or a message. I see so many people that come to me and say, but I didn't have a life-threatening illness. I never really was going through a depressive phase. I just had a normal childhood. There was nothing really wrong. So what is my message? And I always tell them, just because you don't have one of those significant events in your life doesn't mean you don't have a message. You still do, obviously, because you're here for a reason. And that mindset actually often gets people into trouble, because then they're trying to find subconsciously an event that helps them have a story, even if it's illnesses. We all know, hey, when we didn't want to go to school, we suddenly had belly aches, right? It was real. So you can talk yourself into illnesses too. So I just want to encourage people, don't think too much about that. Just think about, what is on my heart? What is God speaking to me? And your story, your story, your message is not defined by the things that you had to go through in your life.
You know, my grandfather used to have a saying for just about everything, and it was only a couple words. He was like, "Just wait a while." Like, man, I had a good year. I haven't really gone through anything hard. He'd look at you and go, "Just wait a while." You know, like,
I don't like that. It's the same with children, where people say, just wait until they were 2, then the terrible 2 started. I'm like, no, I'm not even getting that into my mind. I'm approaching that in a different way. I'm saying, no, they're just growing emotionally. That's all there is, and we have to explain it to them. And just be like, just wait with the second one. I'm like, no, I'm not getting myself into that mindset, because it will create that.
Yeah. But on the other side, I would call him. I'm like, man, I'm going through turmoil right now. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm so stuck in life. And he'd say the same thing. He'd be like, just wait a while.
Wait a while.
You know, but his mindset was simply that nothing is forever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
True.
Like your storm that you're going through is temporary. The pain that you're experiencing is temporary. The peace that you're experiencing is temporary. You know, and he was a God-fearing man. Like, he was the Catholic of all Catholics. You know, like he was the religious, the rock bed, you know, in our family. And you know, he just had that idea that everything is, like, nothing is forever. You know, so just because life sucks today, just wait a while. It'll get better. You know, just because you haven't experienced anything hard, wait a while. You will. You know, just because that, you know, and so I always kept that with me, you know, and just a reminder, like, you know, just wait a while. Like it's all good. Just wait a while. You know, expect the unexpected, right? Expect the unexpected, but expect that something better is always going to come along. So
that, and also be aware that if you can't get somewhere emotionally, you will never get there physically. So if you expect to get somewhere physically, but your emotional state doesn't change, or your attitude towards that doesn't change, you will never get there. So even if you're in a situation stuck, envision what you actually want to have and how you want to feel. If you can get there emotionally, you will get there physically.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. So as we close, give a call to action. What do you want the listeners to do?
Call me? No.
Of course.
Oh, that was a good one. Okay, no, I'm serious. But yeah, sure, connect with me. That would be great. But what I actually want them to do...
connect with Isabel. Sending out positive energy.
Yes, definitely do that. Email. You can even find my phone number in my book if you get my book. But don't send spam stuff. But no, just in general, I think what I want people to do is to just sit back and create more awareness. When we actually become still, that's when life unfolds. We don't have to rush through every day, and we don't have to make things happen every day. We just have to trust.
Boom. Mic drop. I love it. Love that. If you want to know more about Isabel Hundt, you can look her up on the website, www.isabelhunt, Hundt, isabelhunt.com, and then look up faithdrivensuccess.com. She's on Twitter, Facebook, Compassionate Coaching, LinkedIn, Isabel Hundt. This has been an amazing, amazing episode, and I learned so much and mind-blowing. This is intense. I loved it. I loved spending time with you and learning so much about what you're doing. This has been incredible.
Thank you so much for the honor. I mean, I was looking forward to it all day. I was like, oh, I need to prepare. I'm like, oh, no, I'm just going to trust. It's all going to be good. And so, yeah, thank you so much for having me and, giving me the opportunity to share. And as I said, we could probably talk more, like 3, 4, or 5 hours if we wanted to. Yeah.
Sure. So, again, her book is The Power of Faith-Driven Success. Look her up, email her. She is incredible. She is amazing, and I want to thank you for your time and spending time with us. Thank you so much, Isabel.
Thank you.
Transformation Radio listeners, this is another episode of Life Transformation Radio where your transformation matters. And as we say here, live your brand. Find opportunities to live out your values and live your brand. We will see you next time. Have a good night.